Hello. Today I went out again and covered the western portion of the city. Didn't go to every single shop out there because I it would take too long and I just couldn't really be bothered. If I'm honest, I wasn't really in the mood today. Um, and that's something increasingly I'm finding that the actual act of going around the secondhand shops, kind of I'm enjoying that less and less, for various reasons, which I'll probably talk about maybe in another video where I kind of tie this all up together once I've done everything I need to do. But anyway, you can see here I did find some things, and so that's good, and I think some pretty good things. Some things just okay, but some things we'll talk about them as we go. First one here, Tangerine Dream. Tangerine Dream is a band I hear a lot about. People, excuse me, often reference them as a influential act, and I've heard little bits and pieces of theirs, but never really anything in depth. I've never really gone out of my way to listen to them in depth, despite them being referenced so often as a influential band. Now, this, when I was in the shop, I was trying to search. I thought this was an album, but as I saw when I was searching, and what it kind of confirms now, it looks like it's a kind of compilation, because you've got stuff from the 80s and the 70s. And apparently they started in the 70s. They're German. You can tell by the name. Frank Schmolling. But as far as I know, Tangerine Dream are kind of electronic, but also kind of proggy electronic. Not electronic in the sense of, say, Kraftwerk or something like that. More, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who to compare them to. I don't actually know, because I don't know them well enough to kind of say, well, they're like this band or that band. But like I said, who have I heard them? I've heard them being referenced by rock bands and by other electronic acts, and metal bands as well. So under the genre, it says electronic, kosmisch, that sounds German, ambient, progressive electronic. Well, see, that's what I was saying there. I didn't even know that was really a genre, but progressive electronic, new age, krautrock. But krautrock is only early. Well, they formed in 1967. Maybe they've had several iterations as well, because it looks like they've had a lot of members in the band. Anyway, I'll be interested to listen to this. That was $1. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got these all from the same shop, and these were all $2, which is a little bit more. Now we can notice here, I think this was all, well, actually, except for that one. That's got it as well. What can you see there on the kind of plastic? I don't know if it's really showing on the camera. You kind of do it down like that. You can see this kind of yellowing or browning on parts of the CDs. I think I've noticed that before on a few CDs I bought secondhand. I think that is from people who smoke. I can't smell smoke on the CD, but that's all I could imagine it being. A kind of yellowing from many, many years of smoking inside. Because I say that can, like, when people smoke in houses over years and decades, it can stain the roof and the walls. And I listened to another podcast about collecting, It's not CDs, it's other kind of collectibles. And they often talk about that as well, buying things and you can tell that the person who owned it was a smoker because the plastic has been yellowed, or the rubber, or whatever the thing is that you're buying. But usually I tend to find if you get a kind of wet wipe, you can kind of clean it off. See, look at that. It's kind of gross, really, when you think about it. I can't stand smoking. The smell, the everything about it. And now, geez, look at that. It's fucking filthy. It's quite disgusting. The nowadays people are vaping, which I dislike just as much. People walk down the street vaping that shit, clouds of that fruity smelling shit everywhere, and it's like, if you want to do that, fine, whatever, but you can't impose that on people around you, in my opinion. It's just rude. But people don't give a shit. That is, they just do it. So I'll give these a proper clean once I've done this, because that is disgusting. Kind of makes me a bit icky about touching it, to be honest. But anyway, like I said, I'm pretty sure all of these, they all have the same yellowing, and it must have been all the same person, and they're all kind of a somewhat similar genre. You saw the first one there, Steve Vai. We've got Steve Vai, Passion and Warfare, and Steve Vai, Sex and Religion. Both from the 90s, I believe. 1990, and this was 93. Now, the reason why I was particularly excited about this is because you may know or recognize that person on the front. That's not Steve Vai. Steve Vai's on the back. That is Mr. Devin Townsend, who is one of my favorite artists, or at least his older stuff, and one of my favorite artists. Ocean Machine in particular is one of my favorite albums of all time. Stuff he did throughout his career, solo, Devin Townsend Band, Devin Townsend Project. Stuff he did with Strapping Young Lad. He's kind of one of my favorite artists. And so this is kind of the first big thing he did. He was kind of recruited as a young man to be the vocalist for Steve Vai. Kind of Steve Vai doesn't sing, well, I don't think he does generally. And so he's tended to have vocalists sing for him. And in this case, it was Devin Townsend, as it says there. It's got Terry Bozzio on drums. As for the music on this, to be honest, I'm not that familiar with it, but I'll be again interested to listen to it. Obviously, Devin Townsend's not writing it. Well, he's got a writing credit there on Pig. Oh no, that's lyrics. So lyrics. But the actual music itself, I'd say, is exclusively written by Steve Vai. So yes, all music written by Steve Vai. But in saying that, I'd be so interested to hear what Devin Townsend adds. You can also see he's got a writing credit there with Desmond Child, who has done a lot of kind of outside writing for bands. And the other one, Passion and Warfare, this is the one that's got the song For the Love of God, which is probably my favorite Steve Vai song, track 7. Steve Vai, if you don't know, he's kind of one of those super virtuoso type guitarists like Yngwie Malmsteen or Joe Satriani, or there are a few others. To be honest, not really my cup of tea. That kind of thing doesn't really interest me, kind of virtuosity for the sake of virtuosity, when the music around it is kind of just average or subpar, but the guy's amazing at guitar. You think, well, that's great, but what, if the songs you're playing aren't good, then who cares that you can, go up and down the fretboard a million miles an hour sweet picking and whatnot. Yeah, but still, some of the stuff I've heard about Steve Vai I have liked. So I'm willing to give them a go. And it's just also they're very rare. I've never seen Steve Vai albums for sale. Certainly not secondhand, even new. It's not the kind of thing you see for sale. He's not like a massive act. He's not like the kind of a household name or anything. So you're not finding his stuff in shops and whatnot. So yeah, two of those. These were $2 each, as you can see, a little bit more. You can see also the date these were bought in on the 8th. Today's the 9th. So they were bought in yesterday. Rainbow. The very best of Rainbow. I own nothing by Rainbow. And Rainbow, again, is a band that I kind of not super familiar with, but some of the stuff I've heard, I've liked. Obviously, I know a lot of legendary artists passed through Rainbow, and it was, and I might be wrong on this. As far as I know, it was Richie Blackmore's post Deep Purple band, and he had Ronnie James Dio sing for him for a while, and I think who else? Someone else. Other of that kind of 70s rock ilk, I think passed through the band as well. And so I'm familiar with some of their songs, but not super familiar. Okay, this is interesting. They got this. I remember would have been about 25 years ago. I was staying in a hotel. I would have been a teenager with an ex girlfriend. I think I've told this story before. She worked in a bar and used to get lots of complimentary things from distributors, like vouchers and gifts and tickets to different things. Anyway, she got a free night at a luxury hotel over in the city. And so we went over and whatever, it was that night we were going to sleep and I was watching TV as we were going to sleep, and I think it was this was back when, nowadays you turn on the TV, you can get every channel you want and you can stream it to your TV, and it's but back then in New Zealand, it was still kind of novelty, and they had satellite TV, and so you could get news and stuff from around the world. I was watching the BBC, and they had a show called the Family Tree of Heavy Metal, something like that, and it was different episodes focused on different heavy metal bands, I assume, and the one that I was watching was about Deep Purple, and obviously Deep Purple had so many iterations with so many different players, and you can see there, and this is literally a kind of family tree of heavy metal, and so many of those bands kind of, the members crossed over, like Black Sabbath. Dio was in Sabbath and Rainbow. You can see in Rainbow, obviously Richie Blackmore. Roger Glover was in Rainbow. He was also in Deep Purple at some stage. Cozy Powell was in Rainbow. I think he was in Black Sabbath at some stage as well. Cozy Powell, post 80s Black Sabbath, and you can see Don Airey there's playing keyboards in Rainbow, and eventually he went to Ozzy Osbourne. Bob Daisley, he played with Ozzy Osbourne post Sabbath. Anyway, interesting that they've actually, just as I was kind of talking about that, they have the literal, maybe this is what the show was based on, or roots and branches. Anyway, that's what I got today. A $2 Rainbow Greatest Hits collection. It's got Man on the Silver Mountain. I've heard that one before. All Night Long, I think I've heard that one. I'm not sure what else I've heard. Stargazer, or Star, yeah. You know, you see song names, you think that sounds familiar. I'm sure once I listen to it, I'll recognize more. White Snake, another band that's kind of in that family tree of 70s, 80s British hard rock, heavy metal. David Coverdale was in Deep Purple at some stage, I'm pretty sure, maybe. Post Ian Gillan. You know, like I said, Deep Purple had so many iterations and so many members. I think the constant was Ian Pace, the drummer, and John Lord, the keyboardist. Well, John Lord eventually left as well, and he passed away since. But I think Ian Pace is still, and I think Roger Glover's back, and I saw a picture with him recently. It was Roger Glover, Ian Pace, Don Airey, and who was singing? Was it back Ian Gillan again, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, like in a revolving door. So yeah, this is a best of. And White Snake, like Rainbow, they're a band that I've heard a lot about and hear them referenced. Look, Don Airey's on, and right, this is what I was talking about. And speaking of it, Steve Vai that's right, I think I have heard that before, that Steve Vai was the guitarist on White Snake. Cozy Powell drums, John Lord keyboards. Look at this. Kind of funny that I was just talking about that, and we see all the same names pop up in this, like I said, kind of Deep Purple, Rainbow adjacent band that I don't think they're real. When you think of White Snake, I guess most people think of Here I Go Again, which is more kind of 80s, mid-80s glam rock kind of feeling, I guess because of the video on MTV, as opposed to the more 70s Deep Purple. So Don Airey, his name comes up quite a lot. Obviously David Coverdale, John Lord. So John Lord looks like he was the keyboardist in White Snake for a period. Cozy Powell, drummer. I think one of the Aldridges, Tommy Aldridge was a drummer for a while, wasn't he? Or was there another Aldridge? There he is down there, Tommy Aldridge drums. And Rudy Sarzo, of course, was the bass for a while as well, after he left. So he was in Quiet Riot, very, very early Quiet Riot. Then I think he played with Ozzy for a very short while. And then he was in White Snake. Played in Queens with that Jeff Tate's shitty Queensryche. When all that lawsuit was going on, he played with him. There's any other names I recognise. Tommy Aldridge again. No. Anyway, I like that kind of, those kind of scenes or genres that are very kind of incestuous, and a lot of the same members pop up again and again in different things. Sometimes just doing a session with an artist or a band, but not necessarily being in the band. And that kind of that genre that's kind of been dubbed yacht rock. If you look at that, kind of that late 70s into the early 80s, about kind of a 5 to 7 year period, and so many of the same artists from those bands like the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan, and then a lot of the lesser known ones were kind of like Toto, or they're not lesser known, but the guy Lukather and Toto and Picaro, they popped up everywhere, sessioning for everyone, playing on other bands' things. To see the same names popping up again and again, the same producers popping up again and again. It's quite interesting how kind of self-contained these kind of scenes can be, and then kind of it moves on, and then it all fades away. And the Queen album, A Kind of Magic, which came out in 85, apparently. 86? Now, I'm just kind of looking at the track listing. You've got One Vision, A Kind of Magic, Who Wants to Live Forever. Now, I was talking about Queen. A couple of months ago, I did a video about Queen. I showed that greatest hits triple platinum collection then that I own. And I think maybe I showed the other ones as well, or maybe I didn't. I think I showed those another time. And as I was reading through the booklet of that of the greatest hits platinum collection triple CD thing, it's got quite a hefty booklet in the middle. It said that this album it wasn't just Who Wants to Live Forever, but also a few of the other songs were on the Highlander soundtrack. Like, I think the song A Kind of Magic itself was written for the Highlander, which I remember at the time thinking, well, when I think of the Highlander and the story and also the kind of atmosphere and kind of mood and all the rest of that movie, A Kind of Magic would be one of the last songs I would imagine fitting that. Look at this. One Vision from the motion picture Iron Eagle. I remember Iron Eagle. That had Louis Gossett Jr., fighter jet pilot. I think they made like 3 of those. Iron Eagle 1, 2, and 3. Or Iron Eagle 2 and 3. Very interesting seeing the writing credits there. So One Vision was the whole band. We got Roger Taylor doing A Kind of Magic. May doing Who Wants to Live Forever, Brian May. Deacon and Mercury doing Pain Is So Close to Pleasure. So it looks like Deacon and Mercury worked together as a kind of team more so than the others at this stage. But only One Vision written by the whole band together. There they are. Let's see if it mentions anything about Highlander in here. Some songs on this album appear in different form in the film Highlander. Okay, so it's plural, songs. Definitely, obviously, Who Wants to Live Forever. We all know that is famously from the Highlander. Or not the Highlander, Highlander. But I'm almost certain I remember reading. I've seen that movie and I don't remember the song featuring. I could be wrong though. So yeah, I've talked before that Queen albums, not the greatest hits collection, but the actual albums, pretty rare to find them. I have 2 other Queen albums. I've got Innuendo and the posthumous Made in Heaven album. And now I have this one, Kind of Magic. So yeah. So those are all $2 each. Those 5. $10 I spent there. $1 on that. And then finally, this was $3. Why was it $3? Because it is uno, dos, tres. 3 discs. And that's how some shops price them. They price them per disc. So if it's a double album, you pay $2. If it's a single album, just a regular single disc, you pay $1. Why did I get this? Well, I've got 40 Licks, the Rolling Stones Greatest Hits collection. But 40 Licks doesn't have the more recent stuff. And a lot of people say, well, why would anyone want the more recent Rolling Stone stuff? They haven't made anything decent since 1972. I wouldn't say that. To be honest, I'm not the biggest Rolling Stone full stop. I'm not really... When a band is too couched in the blues, it's not... I can only really do it in very small doses. And I find a lot of that early Rolling Stone stuff is... it's just like a blues music, which is fine. That was a kind of, of course they put more of a rock and roll edge onto it. But You can see disc 3. I was just thinking about this song the other day, Love Is Strong. That was from Voodoo Lounge. That album came out when I was about 14. And I have good memories of that time, listening to the radio and that song. And so I know it's not necessarily considered a Rolling Stones classic or anything like that, but I like some of the more recent stuff. Anyone See My Baby? I like that song. That's the one that got Angelina Jolie in the video when she was quite young. Mixed Emotions from Steel Wheels. Emotional Rescue, I like this one. That's not really a new song. That's from like the 70s. So there's how many songs on this? 17 plus 16, so it would be 3, 6, about 50, 49 songs. So yeah, I think it kind of rounds out any Rolling Stones song that I would like to ever hear would be covered by this and 40 Licks. So Brian Jones still alive. I guess that's Mick Taylor. Was his name Mick Taylor after Brian Jones? Pretty sure it was Mick Taylor. Mick Jagger, Mick Taylor, maybe I missed. And then Ron Wood and Bill Wyman in the band up into the stage. There's not really much going on there, is it? They kept it pretty sparse. A couple of photos and then just the basic liner notes, credits. So is every is every Rolling Stones song, this is something I remember Bill Wyman talking about. Obviously they did a lot of covers. You can see there a Chuck Berry song, Charles Haddon and Norman Petty, Bobby Womack, Willie Dixon, this kind of blues music, I guess. Jerry Ragovi. But every song written by the band, Jagger and Richards got the credit for. So like the Beatles, not like the Beatles, because obviously George Harrison wrote it, then he would get the credit. But I mean, as far as Lennon and McCartney, they always put each other's names, regardless. For example, on Yesterday, that was exclusively a McCartney song, but it's Lennon McCartney. And all the songs that were John Lennon songs, like In My Life, same way. Well, the same with Jagger and Richards. They always shared the credit, and it didn't matter who. But then also, but Bill Wyman said there were a lot of songs he was as important in the writing process as the other two, and they left him off on purpose several times. I can't see his name mentioned anywhere here, but maybe he wasn't on any of these kind of singles. Maybe he was more on album tracks. Can't see. Later on, looks like they're using some kind of outside writers. One more shot. He's got Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Steve Jordan. Don't know who Steve Jordan is. Anyone See My Baby? Is Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Catherine Dawn Lang, Ben Mink. But no Bill Wyman, no Brian Jones, no Ronnie Wood, and no Mick Taylor. Nope. Okay, as Tears Go By, Andrew Lou Goldman got a credit. He was their manager for a time in the 60s, I think. Before, who was the other guy after him? I can't remember. Anyway, that will do for that. So, oops. to recap the list that I've been writing on each day. So today is technically it's day 5, but properly it's day 4. So it's the 9th of January. And I went to, how many? I went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. I can't remember them all now. I've got to write them all down, Crod. Can't be bothered. Hospice in Massey. And then I went to hospice in, we'll say Henderson. It's not really Henderson, but anyway. Then I went to Salvation Army in Henderson. It's SPCA, which is where I got most of them, in Henderson. And a Habitat for Humanity, a restore shop in Henderson. Was there another place I went in Henderson? I think that was it. Then I went down to, Glen Eden, but I didn't go into, I drove past it, didn't look promising, so I didn't bother going in. I was put Glen Eden, I didn't know the name. So then I went to New Lynn, and I went to a hospice shop there. Then I went to Avondale, and the Salvation Army is closed forever. They're pulling it down. It's gutting, like they're demolishing that whole row of shops. So I don't know if it's moved somewhere, but I couldn't find it if it had. Then I went to Point Chev, and I went to what was it? I don't even know what the shop was. I think it was Mercy something. Maybe the hospital, because there's a Mercy hospital in Auckland. Maybe it's for that. And St. Vincent de Paul. Got the Rolling Stones there for $3. Nothing. Got, what was it? Steve Vai ×2, White Snake, Rainbow, and Queen for $2 each. So that's 4, 2, 2, 2. And then nothing there. Oh, so nothing at the rest of them. So nothing. Bing, 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 bing. So I spent $13 today. $13, $6 yesterday. $3 on, what was the 7th? Tuesday. 0 on Monday. So I've spent $13, $19, $22, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16 CDs. God. Is that right? Yes. No, that sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, no, there's 16. $16 for 20, whatever I said, $22. Seems like too, yeah. Like I said, I think I'm not really in the mood for buying CDs at the moment, secondhand CDs at least, it feels. Kind of almost like, I'm like, oh, I bought too much. Strange, isn't it? How, so like I really go through periods of not wanting to buy anything. It's not like I don't look, I've often said, when I look at my CD collection, I'm always very happy with it, or like content with it. I'm like, feels like a feeling of satisfaction that I managed to collect that, and that I've got so many things for such a good price. I don't feel like, oh, I want to get rid of this, there's too much shit. It's all kind of contained in one shelf, more or less. But I think it's the act of going into these stores. It kind of, sometimes you feel like a pack rat. Is that the word, pack rat? Like sometimes, like today, one of the stores I went in, and there were two people. There was the CD shelves were kind of in the corner, and so on either side there was other things. There was a DVD shelf, and then something, and there was people already looking and kind of. And so I didn't even look. I just kind of glanced over once. I'm like, I don't want to squeeze in there and kind of like. I don't care enough to do that. The number of CDs that I really, really want is so small now that it just feels like I can't be bothered going around these shops. Sometimes. And it's also, I know this week I feel quite on a bit of a downswing of mood. Probably because my family aren't here, and it just takes a while to kind of get used to it. And so I feel that when mentally I'm not 100%, the act of buying things really seems utterly pointless and futile. It feels so kind of empty. Even though I'm spending like what, $10 or whatever, which is nothing. I bought a bottle of Sprite on the way home, and this bottle of Sprite was $4.50. It's like I spent $6 on CD. It's not as though this is, I'm spending all my money. It's like this is money that I can easily, it's not money that I need. I need all the money, but I mean, it's not like I'm taking away from our savings or my food budget. This is like little throwaway money, $20 here or there across a week. But it's the actual buying of things. I think it feels. I've had that feeling since I was a kid. I don't know if I've told that story before. And this wasn't even buying. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted rollerblades. This was during the rollerblade craze when it first started, probably in the very early 90s. And so my mum agreed to buy them for me for Christmas, and she wanted to get them super early so that she could put them on lay-by. You pay it off over time. So I remember we actually went and bought them in October. The shop holds them, and you pay a little bit by each week or each month, and then when they give it to you. And I remember I was so excited because it kind of built up from October, November, December, and you're like all those months I'm like thinking about it, knowing I'm going to get it. And then I remember when I got it and used it, I was so utterly deflated. And I would have been like 9 or 10 years old. Not that it was like, oh, these are shit or anything like that. It was just like it couldn't live up to what was in my mind about, because I'd built it up so much. I'm not saying I build up CDs or anything. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just rambling, really. Anyway, we'll leave it there. See you later. Bye.